Welcome, everyone. Welcome to tonight's show. And tonight we're going to discuss Africa on Fire, Pitfalls and Opportunity with Dr. Winters here. We don't know if Dr. Short will join us, but the invitation is definitely open for the brother. Uh, how you doing, Dr. Winters?
I'm doing fine. What up, though? What up, though?
Hey, man, it's on fire. You got my guy, Julius Molina. He talking slick. Then you got the brothers in Niger. uh, telling the French, get up out of here. We don't need you. We don't need you colonizers. They upset. And to the outside world, it may appear like they're ready to get that foot off their neck. I don't know much about world history, world politics like that. And we have our illustrious historian here to give us some insight on the dynamic of what we could be expecting and the opportunity that may be presenting themselves for that region.
Could you bring up that map so the people can see it? Okay, I'm not going to. I'm not going to go in. I'm not going to go just to the map because I want to talk to the people because I can't. It's a little strong. But as you can see from this map, maybe I'll make it a little larger just so people can see. Okay, this is Niger, and what's happening is that Africa's on fire. Yes, Africa is on fire. You see, they've got a lot of problems in Africa. One of the problems in Africa is this: back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, you could in Africa, you could be in the same family and be a Muslim. You could be a Christian, and you could also practice your own traditional religion, African traditional religion. What happened was is that in the mid 70s to the late 70s, Saudi Arabia began to spend money around the world. In many African countries, there were these Muslims. These Muslims went to what was called a madrasa. A madrasa, that's a traditional Muslim or Islamic school. These are people who attended the madrasa. The problem was is that they had a lot of Islamic knowledge. They may have known some science, mathematics. They also knew the Quran from back to front. But the only problem was is that many of them, unless they could get a trade, they didn't have the opportunities to really make money in the businesses that existed in West Africa. So what happened is that many of these young people were alienated. They felt they had an education. They had attended an Islamic school, the madrasa, but they didn't, in a sense, attend a Christian school. So what happened is Saudi Arabia, they came on the scene. They started spending money. Saudi Arabia, the people in Saudi Arabia, they belong to what's called the Wahhabi fiqh. A Wahhabi fiqh, a fiqh is an Islamic school of jurisprudence. What jurisprudence is that this is the school or the law or the legal basis of law that allows you, in a sense, to administer Muslims within a Muslim country. The West African people, though, they didn't really practice the Wahhabi fiqh. They practiced what was called the Malinki fiqh. The Malinki fiqh had been in Africa for, that was one of the first fiqhs that, school of Islamic jurisprudence that came out of Islam. And this had been practiced in West Africa for thousands of years. I mean, not thousands, but at least 1,000 years. But this new introduction of Wahhabism was very specific. Among the Saudi Arabians, number one, they feel that you should keep the woman in her place. Number two, the Wahhabis feel in the sense that women should not be seen or heard. They should be kept in the background. This was new to African Islam, but many people they gravitated to the Wahhabi school of Islam. This Wahhabi school of Islam began to make many people become militant. Many of these people, in a sense, began to organize themselves into various militias. The main militia that they organized was what we call Boko Haram. And Boko Haram, it was basically, in a sense, an organization that was marauding in Nigeria originally. And when they were in Nigeria, what they did is if you remember back a few years ago, they attacked a few Islamic schools. They attacked a few schools, and they kidnapped a lot of the girls. And what they did when they kidnapped these girls from school, they made many of these girls their wives. That wasn't cool, because under Islamic law, a woman should have the right to decide if she wants to marry you or not. And so what happened is we began to see this rise in what's called militant Islam in West Africa. As this rise in militant Islam began to rise, we find in a sense that many of the governments in West Africa, especially Nigeria, Mali, Chad, they began in a sense to fight these Boko Haram. Okay, later Al Qaeda and ISIS, they came into West Africa. Al Qaeda and ISIS, they came into West Africa at the United States, and the rest of the West attacked Libya. When the United States took out Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi, what happened in a sense is that many of the ISIS and Al Qaeda people began to gravitate into Libya, and they spread into West Africa. You got to remember, let me explain to you, Al Qaeda and ISIS, they were formed by the United States CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. You see? Yes, many of the people who follow Al Qaeda leadership and follow ISIS leadership, they don't really know in a sense that these particular so-called Islamic movements are really not militant Islamic movements. Yes, they speak a lot of Islam, but they're really working for the CIA. Okay, so here we have this situation. We have Boko Haram, and we also had, in a sense, Al Qaeda and ISIS. And these people, in a sense, these so-called Muslim militants, they were attacking, black people, African people all over the place. They were African too. Okay, 10 years ago, in a sense, the French came in. So the French were invited into many other Sahelien countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad. And they were invited into the country to help put down the so-called militant Muslim movements, Al Qaeda, ISIS, Boko Haram. So the French came in 10 years ago. What the French did is that when they came in, they didn't really go fight Al Qaeda. They didn't really go fight ISIS. And they didn't fight Boko Haram. What they did, in a sense, is that they began in a sense to settle in areas where they could separate the various African armies from the African militants. Okay, so what happened is that the French didn't really end up helping these black nations because they wanted to continue having, ISIS, Boko Haram, and Al Qaeda. They wanted to continue seeing them, set on fire West Africa. They wanted to have them be able, in a sense, to continue causing trouble. Because, the more trouble that you have in West Africa, what happens? What happens is, in a sense, is that it allows what's called the neo-colonial people. Neo means new, so neo-colonialism means bringing a new colonialist. And so what happened is that while the French were pretending they were really going to help these countries, what they really did is that they made it possible in a way by really protecting Boko Haram, protecting Al Qaeda, and protecting ISIS. The way they protected them is that they separated the two armies, but then Boko Haram, ISIS, Al Qaeda, they could attack these African villages at will. And so then what happened is that many people began to feel that they should get rid of the French. You see, in Burkina Faso, Mali, they had coup d'états, and these juntas or coup d'états was when the military began, in a sense, to take control of the governments. Okay, this is kind of strange because many of these leaders in Burkina Faso, Mali, and other parts of West Africa, many of these military leaders, they have been trained in America. So many people were surprised because even though they were trained in America, they ran the French out of their countries and they brought in the Wagner group, or the Russians. The Wagner group, they're supposed to be military. And so when the Wagner group came in, the Wagner group helped them to go out and, hey, let's go kick some ass. They went out and they started helping them to fight, in a sense, ISIS, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda. Instead of, in a sense, just sitting in a town and separating the parties, they went out and they did some fighting. Okay. So what happened was about a week ago, the people in Niger, you can see on the map that's the middle country, the green country, Niger. And Niger is a very strategically located country. Niger is bordered by Algeria, Libya, Chad, Mali, Burkina Faso, Benin, and also Nigeria. If you notice, Nigeria has a very long border with Niger. Okay, so what happened is that the military had what's called a coup d'etat. Coup d'etat mean they upturned the government, and the people, in a sense, the military in Niger, they decided they would get rid of Mohamed Bazoum. Okay, but see, Mohamed Bazoum, he was the elected president. But see, Mohamed Bazoum, he's an Arab. Only 0.4% of the people in Niger are Arabs. But he was the president, and so then what happened is that when they replaced when they decided to have a coup d'etat, and one of the reasons that they had a coup d'etat is this: Niger is a country that's known for producing, they have a lot of uranium and a lot of other minerals, because Africa is a very rich continent. And because Africa is a very rich continent, people come into Africa and they use the African. And what was happening is that although, according to the coup d'etat leaders, that Niger was supposed to be selling their uranium for $128. $128, but they said that President Mohamed Bazoum, he's allowing the French to only pay $11. Think about that. Here's a country with all these minerals. It's a rich country. It's minerally rich, but they don't have any factories. They don't have any jobs. And Africa is a young continent. Africa is a continent in which many of the people are young people. So young people need jobs. Young people need opportunity. But instead of these governments trying to present to the young people opportunities, helping them to develop a way to live, to survive and make a living, they're just taking all the money and giving it to the Europeans. And so then therefore what happened is this: they took over the country. When they took over Niger, then the Economic Community of West African States, called ECOWAS, led by the Nigerian president, Bola Tinubu, said that, okay, last week, Tinubu said that unless you put Mohamed Bazoum back into the presidency, we're going to invade your country. That's what the president of Nigeria said. See, that's none of his business. That's none of his business. Because, see, the people in Niger, they're celebrating the army taking over the government. They're celebrating because they're hoping that they'll get a chance to make some money and get some opportunity, you see. But anyway, President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria, he said that he was going to send in ECOWAS and for them to get their militaries ready, and they would go in to fight, in a sense, the people in Niger and put down the rebellion. Okay. Even though the president of Nigeria said that they were going to get a military force of ECOWAS soldiers to go in and put down the coup d'etat in Niger, what happened was that the presidents of the people, the leaders of Mali and Burkina Faso, said that they were going, in a sense, to help the people in Niger. They said that if Niger was attacked by ECOWAS, they were going to send in their own troops. And then look at that country up there called Algeria. Algeria, which is in the top left-hand corner, they also said that they would support Niger to make sure that Niger could be free of French colonial rule. Okay, so that didn't really make the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, he still kept talking about he's going to go and attack the country. Now here's a man. He hasn't went to none of those countries in Africa where people are now the same president for 15 years, stuff like that. He didn't want to go in there, but he's going to go into a country, Niger, where the people want to see this coup d'etat, where the people want to see somebody else take over the government so it can be better. Okay, so then what happened is that he was getting all the forces ready, but then the people in the Senate of Nigeria, they flipped the script. The people in the Nigerian Senate, what they did is that they decided that you cannot send Nigeria to war just because you're the president. We have to, in a sense, under some article, I think it was Article 5 or something, we have to okay the deployment or declare war on Niger before we can send our troops in. But see, this is what a lot of them started thinking. A lot of the people in the Nigerian Senate, they know that ECOWAS was going to go into Niger, not because of ECOWAS or because of, in a sense, what West African people need, because they can see all these people. Look, there's a picture on the bottom of the right-hand side. Here you can see many other people in Niger. They're carrying Russian flags, you know, the red, blue, and white, and they were celebrating the military taking away the leadership of Mohamed Bazoum. And so many people in the Nigerian Senate, they said, wait a minute. Hold on, President Bola Tinubu. They said, hold on. They said, wait a minute. You expect us, Nigeria, to send our troops into Niger for the French and the Americans? They said, look at what happened in Ukraine. I know all of you know what happened in Ukraine, right? Right now, they're having a proxy war in Ukraine. And this proxy war in Ukraine is that the Ukrainians, they're fighting the Russians. And according to many reports, the Ukrainians are losing it. In fact, just in 2 months, in June and July, 35,000 Ukrainians were either killed or wounded just in June. 35,000. And they're over there fighting for the NATO. They're fighting in a sense for NATO, and yet they're suffering while the Russians are kicking their butt. The people in Nigeria, the city of Nigeria said, hey, no way, President Bola Tinubu. They said, no way, we're not going to support you. We're not going to let NATO and the West turn us into another Ukraine. But they don't, but see, the point is this, is that, now look at this. You had the French over there, you got the Americans over there. America got bases throughout West Africa. They got the largest base in the world. The largest base in the world for various weapons in Niger. And now you're going to tell me, now you think about this, you're going to tell me that the French and the Americans, along with the armies of Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria, they can't go out and beat some people, to run down people. They don't even have tanks. Boko Haram, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they don't have tanks. They barely got machine guns. And you're going to tell me that they can't go out there and beat those people? They could go out there and beat those people, but they don't want to beat ISIS. They don't want to beat Al-Qaeda. They don't want to beat Boko Haram, because they know the more mess that they can keep up in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, northern Nigeria, you see, then that allows them to rule. How did the European take over Africa? The European took over Africa through what's called divide and rule. Divide and rule. They had, in a sense, people fighting each other. And as these people fought each other, then the Europeans just stepped in and said, since you don't know how to rule yourself, what we'll do is that we'll take over and we'll rule the whole place. And see, that's what they're doing now, because see, it's no way that you have modern armies, you see, like the French, the Americans, all the weapons they got, all the planes they got, all the helicopters they got, and they can't beat some of the ragtime people running around the trucks. Yes, they can beat them, but what it is that they don't want to beat them, because they want to keep West Africa on fire. They want to have the Africans fighting themselves, because by having the Africans fight themselves, what they're able to do in a sense is they're able to control. And that's what it's all about. See, the European, he controls us. And the way he controls us is that he allows us, in a sense, to fight each other. You see? It's just like in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago. In Chicago, the two leading gangs are called the Disciples and the Blackstone Rangers. Not so much today, but when I was growing up, it was the Disciples and the Blackstone Rangers. The colors of the Disciples were blue, black, and the colors of the Blackstone Rangers were red. Okay. Keep that in mind. Keep those colors in mind. Okay. So what happened is that around 1960, 65, 66, about 1965, 64, it was a Catholic church in Inglewood, the Inglewood area of Chicago. They sponsored the Disciples at their church. And then it was another church in the Woodlawn area with a Catholic priest. They sponsored the Disciples, the Blackstone Rangers. And so we find, in a sense, that the Catholic Church was sponsoring these two gangs. Okay. Back in the day, to join these gangs, you had to kill somebody. I was a neutron.
Dr. Winters, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Just for the sake of clarity, what do you mean by sponsoring? Because I don't think a lot of people may understand.
Well, sponsoring they sponsored the game because they allowed these teenagers to come into their church, and they get hold meetings in the church. See, every gang, at least gangs in Chicago, they all had what's called literature, and their literature in a sense was, it was built on 5-pointed stars, or 6-pointed stars, 7-pointed stars. And this would talk about the history of their creation of the game. You know what I mean? Hey, let's 5-star, whatever. That's the sound of the devil to me. That's what I was doing. But anyway, so you had these games. Back then, back in the day, you could not walk down the street. You see, I got met in the alley so much with people with a gun that I can't even tell you how many times I had a gun up to my head. In 1967, it was the Bloody Halloween of 67. And so we went down to see this girl. She was supposed to be free-hearted, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we went down to see her, but she wasn't free-hearted with us. So we was coming back. So as we came back down the street, these 5 guys, they walked up to us. They said, D-Dang. And I was and my friend James Harper, I said, James, don't say nothing, just keep going. They said, D-Thang. He said, D-Thang. And then they said, stone to the bone. And they had on long coats, had on these little hats. You saw them. If you ever saw if you ever saw the Al Capone and all that, they had on those hats, had long coats.
Bostolinis.
Yeah. And so these guys, so one of the guys, he came up, threw up his thing, came up with a shotgun. Pow, 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 stone to the bone. So we broke out running. James Harper got shot in the back. I saw my life go before me, you see. And so then, this was a shame because, see, now listen, those Disciples, they went out to California and they started the Crips. The Blackstone Rangers, they went out to California and they started the Bloods. See, it was all started by the Catholic Church, just to show you how the white man is. The white man is a very devious, very, very plotty. And see, that's what they're doing in Africa. See, just for a little cash money. You see, in fact, you know, at Nixon's inauguration, President Nixon, at his inauguration, the Blackstone Rangers were there. They were invited to his inauguration. These people killing black people, killing people all over Chicago, terrorizing the damn community. They were at President Nixon's inauguration. But see, that's the way it is. As I told you what's going on in Africa. You know what did Neely Fuller say? Neely Fuller said that the white supremacists plays both sides. And that's what they're doing in West Africa. They got Boko Haram, you see? They got ISIS, they got Al-Qaeda, and they're supposed to be helping you fight these people. But for some reason, though, they can't never knock them out. They can still sneak up and kick your ass. No. See, they playing both sides, man. They playing both sides. But see, a lot of people are very upset because they say, damn, these military leaders, they was trained in America. They said, damn, if they were trained in America, they should be ready to kiss America's ass, right? But they're not. So sometimes I wonder they get some game. Did you talk to them, Q? I mean, maybe you did it.
No. One thing that I know how they're never going to tell you all their tricks.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things when you're dealing with that beast is understanding that they're only there to destabilize the region.
Yeah.
And what goes on. And I think, unfortunately, this is like history repeating itself all over again. Like, do you really think that you have allies? Like, even with Putin, I'm not going to say Putin is not going to help, but Putin has his own interest with going against NATO as well. He understands clearly that NATO is a threat to him and what he's doing. So, of course, he's going to try to rally and get people to join forces with him. So I'm very interested, not overly interested, but very interested in what's next.
Well, see, what's next is that it all depends. It all depends on them. Because see, remember right now you got people in a sense whose leaders are selling them out. They're just like the congressional, the colored bullshit caucus. The colored bullshit caucus. They got leaders, but their leaders are selling them out. And so then what are they going to do? See, remember in a sense is that history always repeats itself. History always repeats itself. The only thing is that it's a twist. And so are these people, are these soldiers, are they going to want to lead their government so that the people can make money? You see, or what? Remember, in a sense, when Nkrumah was the first president of Ghana. When Nkrumah took over Ghana, he built factories and industries throughout Ghana, so the people could work and the people could produce. What does Claude Anderson teach us? Claude Anderson teaches us that you had to produce. What about Dr. Short? He makes it clear to you that the only way you're going to be successful is you have to get what? Your motherfucking money. See? But you can't make any MFM sitting around the house, right? You have to get out there and work for it.
Got to produce. You got to, it's they work hand in hand. You don't want this posturing that none of the African brothers are doing.
We don't know what
are they sending their people as lambs to slaughter? Because we all know that they don't have the military might to do much. So what's the rhetoric? Like someone has a question for you, Dr. Winters.
Go ahead.
And about my buddy Julius Molina, he's my guy. Is the EFF opening the door to Africa to World War III on their soil?
They could. It could be. They've already began in a sense World War III. Look over in the Sudan. Okay, this is what happened in the Sudan. Right now in the Sudan, you got the rapid deployment group fighting the regular Sudanese army. Okay. So what happened is that America. I live in America. I'm very in a sense disappointed, and I'm disappointed because the fact is this. Don't get me wrong, but I live here. You see, I'm an old nigga, and when you get to be old nigga, all you want to do is look at Netflix and other programs. You want to look at TV. You want everything to remain the status quo. Okay, what's happening though is that because of the fact that America, 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 because of Right now, America is becoming a declining power. If you've ever listened to me on Reverend Shock Matthews, I always tell you in a sense is that no European power has lasted longer than 200 years. They have a fluorescent period of 100 years, you see, and then they really move up, and then the final 100 years they begin to decline, and by the end of the 100 years, they begin in a sense to lose steam. And not only do they lose steam, they begin in a sense to destroy themselves because of the fact is that they allow too much homosexuality. Don't get me wrong out there. I'm not against you if you're gay. I'm not against you if you're gay. I'm not against you if you're trans. But what I'm just telling you is that what destroyed the Greeks? Homosexuality. Because when you got a lot of homosexuals, you don't produce what? Children. If you don't produce children, then your population going to decrease. As your population decrease, as everybody's out there having sex, then other people can come in and take you over. What destroyed the Roman Empire? What destroyed it? Homosexuality. Because they all became homosexuals, and before you know it, they were letting in immigrants and all that, taking over the country. See? What led to the decline of Egypt? Egypt was a powerful civilization for 3,000 years. Then the Egyptians were taken over by the Greeks. They were taken over by the Romans. And they began, in a sense, to do what? The Greeks and Romans, as they took over Egypt, they began to bring in what? Immigrants. And the immigrants brought them down because they didn't have people in their country who was, in a sense, very concerned about the national thing. So what's happening today is that ever since World War II, America became the dominant power in the world. Because of the fact that many Americans felt that they had won the war, and we were the most economically developed country, then therefore, in a sense, America felt that, we're the power. Okay, in 1974 something, Nixon went off the gold standard. And when Nixon went off the gold standard, what he did in a sense is that he began in a sense to make the dollar the standard, for the world currency. And the way he was able to do this is that he made a contract with the Saudi Arabians. And under the terms of this contract, you could only buy oil from the Saudi Arabia using dollars. So this made the dollar the most powerful currency. And so then, just like Britain ruled the world up into what? World War II. Really, World War I broke them down. And then we took over the world after World War II. But the only problem is that now the United States, what they did is that dumb Jim Crow Joe. What Jim Crow Joe did is that they wanted to fight. They wanted in a sense Ukraine to fight the Russians. For some reason, people in America started feeling that Russia was dumb. Russia was stupid. Russia wasn't a power. And so they decided they were going to have the Ukrainians fight the Russians. And they were, in a sense, after they in a sense have the Ukrainians fight the Russians, Russia was going to go down, and then Germany and the United States and France were going to go into Germany, go into Russia, and take over their mineral wealth and take all the stuff they had. This is what we said, and they're saying it out loud. Americans are saying this out loud, and the Russians hearing them. Okay. And what Biden did is that he felt in a sense that he could put sanctions on Russia, and that would cause Russia to fall because he thought that the Russian economy was so tied up with America. What happened is that between 2014 and 2022, Russia kept on developing their own economic resources, developing their own ways to make money in a sense. They already had oil as an export commodity. And so Biden with his stupid self, what he did is that this is America. America is an oligarchy. An oligarchy means that America is run by rich people. America has always been a place where business came first and money came first. But what Biden did is that Biden took $200 billion that the Russians had over in reserves. They just took it from Russia. This is America, mind you, and America's about cash money, but they took $200 billion from Russia because they felt that because they didn't like Russia. What do you think the rest of the people in the world started saying?
Oh, they could take our money too. We're gonna ban with Russia.
No, they didn't say we was gonna ban with Russia. What they said is that they could take our money too. So we better get our what?
Get our money.
Our money.
We better get our motherfucking money.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We better get our motherfucking money out of America. So what happened is this. So after that, China, the three leading countries that buy bonds. See, we're able in a sense to have this high debt in the trillions of dollars because of the fact is that we're supported by people buying bonds, and these people buy bonds because they feel in the sense that they need American dollars, to buy oil and stuff like that. Okay. So what happened is this: is that when they're telling China all the time that they're going to kick their ass. They said they're going to go to war with them in 2025, right? They're saying this on TV. Let me tell you, family. Back in the day, the old white folks that ran this country, don't tell nobody. They kept a nigga in the closet. Yes. And many corporations, don't tell nobody, they kept a nigga in the closet. And this nigga, they would go and ask this brother, what should we do? And the brother would use common sense, because when you go to college, you lose your common sense. So then the brother would say, well, you do this, sus, and you do that, sus, and we can make us some money. They said, thank you, nigga in the closet. And then they went and listened to him. Around the 1980s, they got rid of the niggas in the closet. They got rid of all the old white heads. They got rid of all the old white heads. As they got rid of all the old white heads, what happened in a sense, they started bringing in all these people who had a college degree from Harvard and Yale. College people are dumb. And many other people who go to Harvard and Yale, they go to Harvard and Yale. Why? Because their parents got money. So you're bringing in somebody that doesn't know what to do. So they told Biden, hold back the money. So what happened is that our country is able to have this high debt because a lot of people buy our bonds. The top three people that buy our bonds are, in this order, Japan, China, and the UK, United Kingdom. I owe you some money, right? Right, Q? I owe you $20. We at the bar. We drinking. See, I don't drink, but let's imagine we drinking. You got your JB, and you just 2 seats over from me, and I say to one of our friends, I'm gonna kick Q's ass. I'm gonna kick Q's ass. Now I'm saying this in front of you. What are you gonna do, Q?
I'm gonna require my money, or I'm gonna kick your ass first.
Yeah, or at least you're gonna be aware that he's your enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna try to get your money back. Now, here you got the United States. I know you heard on the news talking about they gonna attack China, and they're gonna beat China. So what do the Chinese do? The Chinese are selling off their bonds. They're selling off their bonds, billions of dollars in bonds. Okay, as they sell off their bonds, that means in a sense that we're going to eventually run into a problem where we have a big debt. Okay, now at the same time China's selling off their bonds, then Japan and England and the UK are selling off their bonds. Why are they selling off their bonds? They're selling off their bonds because the Fed, what the Fed is doing, the Fed keep raising up the interest. Every time the Fed raises up the interest, that makes, in a sense, the bonds worth less money. So the thing is, this is that if you want to keep your economy strong, and maybe in a sense avoid as much inflation as possible. Inflation, family, means that you're paying higher and higher prices for the things that you need, like food items, clothing, things like that. And so then the UK and the Japanese, they started selling off their bonds too. As they started selling off their bonds, that means in a sense that more and more of our credit, in a sense, more and more of the monies that bag our government is going down. And so that could put our government into default. See, just like right now they're telling you this bullshit that the American economy is good. It's not good. And they know it's not good. Everybody know how Finch last week lowered the credit rating of the United States from triple A plus to double A plus. You see, because even though they're not telling us, see, you yourself, and especially me, you yourself know a lot of black men and women have not been working since 2019, before we went into the pandemic. Then after the pandemic, a lot of them didn't get called back to work. And those who didn't have a job before 2019 still don't have a job. So the economy is all messed up. And so what's happening is that
some don't even want to work, because for them, they realize since the pandemic that these jobs don't care nothing about them. Yeah. So they're content with just living and hustling.
You know what I mean? Just like let's put it like this. If you got a nice car, you might, if you don't have any problems with a nice car, you might be able to do Uber for a while. Uber Eats, you know. Now Uber Eats and stuff, they're going down now because people don't have that free cash. You know, that free cash to be able, in a sense, to really buy food and bring it in. Mm-hmm. So now we're in a situation because of that dumbass, Biden. Biden has got the whole world feeling they better get their money, get their MFM out of the United States before the United States goes down. This wouldn't have happened if Biden would have stayed in his place, you see. And so now we got these brothers in Africa, and these brothers in Africa are saying, damn, I want to get a piece of the cash. I want to put my MFM. I want to get some of this. And see, what happened is that when they forced Nkrumah out of office, you know what they did? The next brother that came in as president, he got rid of all the factories, got rid of all industries in Ghana.
Wow.
So they had to build from scratch. And so see, the Africans, they had to do like what the Chinese did. No, the Chinese aren't going to want to do it. But they have to demand that if you want my minerals, you see, you're going to have to give me this, you're going to have to give me that. See, people learn. We know that the most terrible country on the planet is the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And the Democratic Republic of the Congo, ever since Lumumba became president, and the CIA and other people came in and killed Lumumba, the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been suffering, and these industries coming in, China coming in. See, China coming in, they got their own interests. As you said earlier, the Russians probably got their own interests. See, but what did the Russians do? The Russians last week when they had the Africa conference, they said that Africans don't have to pay back the debt that they owe them. They also said that they're going to give them free wheat. See, Russia don't have to really deal with that shit because they got their own country. See, all they want to do, they can export their oil and do other things to get industry. See, what African people have to do is they have to start, in a sense, to do what? They have to start to develop their own industries. They have to do, but see, instead of them feeling that they had to keep a nigga down, see, many of these immigrants, many people in Africa, many people, in a sense, around the world don't understand that America was made by us. We made all the great inventions. We had the common sense to be able to help people make money. See, every one of those people that was with a brother made money. Dr. Dre and one of those people, they made money, right? See, Def Jam Records, they made money, right? See, now people with Dr. Dre, him and one of them folks, they making money off of their earphones, right? See, that's because white people see us as an asset. What is an asset? An asset is something that you use to make money. And that is what this deal is all about. And so to get back to the original theme is that Africa is on fire because the fact is that Europeans don't know what to do. What do we do with these young brothers? What do we do with these young brothers? See, what if these young brothers decide, hey, if we was going to fight ECOWAS, let's go out and let's go kick Boko Haram's ass. Boko Haram is gone. Let's go kick Al Qaeda's ass. They're gone. Because you remember, the French and the Americans, they're there to make sure that you don't get rid of Boko Haram. You don't get rid of Al Qaeda. You don't get rid of ISIS. Because as long as they have Boko Haram, as long as they have ISIS, as long as they have Al Qaeda, what they're doing, they're going to keep your country always in a mess, always
control
upset.
Chaos.
Chaos, baby, chaos.
Control chaos.
It's control chaos.
You guys in the chat, if any questions for Dr. Winters in reference to what he spoke about, be sure to put them up. You know, we're not going to keep you guys, but Dr. Winters gave us the pleasure to come on and just give us some understanding of what's going on. And because a lot of times when we see you on the news, we will tend to think that they have a chance to getting people's foot off their neck. But the reality is that, like Dr. Winters said, they're not a stabilized country. And without having no money and without being able to produce anything from your own country, you don't stand a chance on the world stage. You're going to continue getting in bed with these other countries and these deals, and these other countries have their own interest. And then eventually, like how the French even got involved, eventually somebody's going to say, well, Russia got their foot on our neck for 50 years. We're tired of Russia. There ain't going to be no more Putin. And
it's like Wagner. Wagner came in and helping a fight, but then they said, let us get a part of that diamond industry so we can make some money. See, the whole problem is that the vast majority of black people, look at this. You got to look at it from this perspective. Let's look at the Japanese doing the Magi. They call it the Magi Revolution. What the Japanese did is that they wanted to be able to compete with Europeans. So since they wanted to be able to compete with Europeans, they sent a lot of their bright and their smartest Japanese over to the West. They sent them to college in the West so they could learn about the technology. They could learn about how to do industries and stuff like that. Then they brought these people back. But this is what the Japanese did. When they brought these people back who had studied in the West, they didn't make them the leaders and the bosses of any companies. They made them train the other people, see? Because, see, when you learn a foreign language, usually you think in that language, and as you think in that language, you become a pseudo. That's why one of the biggest problems that black people have is what's called CAIDS. CAIDS is culturally acquired identity immune deficiency syndrome. It's just like AIDS, only it's a mental illness. And what it is that when black people don't know their history, when black people don't know their worth, what they do in a sense is they lose their immunity to whiteness, and they feel that they can become successful by pretending to be white. And so then after they lose their immunity to whiteness, they take over an identity of whiteness. And that's why you find, in a sense, in French-speaking Africa, that's the worst. Those are the worst countries. Those brothers went over there over to France. When they came back, they thought they were black Frenchmen. No, you're still an African. You're still whatever country you came from. And that's why they don't know
Paul said they still getting their nigga wake-up call.
That's right. They're getting their nigga wake-up call. And that's why they don't understand, how did these African soldiers go to America and then come back brainwashed? They expected them to be brainwashed. These Africans, leaders, these soldiers, they went over there in a sense, and they studied under Americans, and then they came back and they called in Russia. It can be a new day, but what are these people going to do? What do they have their theorists? You see, you guys out there saying, damn, I don't know Dr. Winters knew this shit. Yes. That's what I went to school for, to be a specialist, an area specialist. That's what I used to get paid for. Do you see? See, when I do consulting work, they pay me $160 an hour for my consulting work when I'm working with a school or when I'm working with people to get things done. But it's all about is getting things done. Because what did Kumo D say? I go to work.
Like I said, you guys in the chat, we're going to probably close in like 10, 15
no questions?
minutes. And if you got any questions with Dr. Winters, be sure to ask him. You guys, we do got some good news. Dr. Winters' class course starts tomorrow. So I guess it's late. So you late registration people?
They can still register up until next week. But see, the third week is a 15-week course, and the third week we start getting heavy in this stuff, and people have to start. And as I've told you before, is that a lot of the people that's been in my class. See, the thing is that a lot of people want to be writers. A lot of people want to be researchers. And what they do is that you learn how to do research in my class. For example, Cheryl, she has her own fashion line out in California. And so she came into my class not to learn how to write history and all that type of shit, or linguistics. She wanted to come in not to learn how to do research to make more money in her business. And she's making more money in her business. Other people are writing papers and they're publishing them. A couple of my students, Shanice, Lindsay, and Paquette, they've written books. And so the thing is that my class, yes, it costs a little money, but you can pay for it in installments. But the thing is that if you come to my class and you really, in a sense, study and really keep up with the class, you're going to get a lot out of it, and I guarantee you that you're going to be able, in a sense, to control. See, I love control. What are you talking about? Okay, I got addicted. See, some people are addicted to sex. Some people are addicted to drink. You see, I got addicted to the power of persuasion. What's the power of persuasion? When I got out of university in 1973, I began to publish my first article in the what was it called? It was the African Studies, Journal of African Studies. I published my first article. It was a book review. That first article turned my life around, because after I published my first article, what happened is that I began to see people would write me letters. People would say, "Damn, Dr. Winters." I wasn't a doctor then. I didn't get my PhD until 2000. But people would write me letters and they say, "Damn, your paper really influenced me." And so after that, I began to publish papers. Right now, if you go to Academia EDU, just put in Clyde Winters, they're going to show at least 300 articles. And these are articles on linguistics, stuff like that. And then if you go to ResearchGate and you put in Clyde Winters, they're going to bring up all my articles that I've done on anthropology and genetics. Yeah, genetics. I'm on them genetic. Yes, I'm that nigga that do the genetics. I'm that nigga in the valley in the background. I'm that nigga that they scared of, right? See? And that's what I want to do for you. I want you to be able, in a sense, to learn how to do research, join my class, and in 15 weeks, you're going to understand. You're going to understand stuff, because my class is unique. I taught research methods at Governor State University for 10 and a half years. In fact, I taught in the graduate program. And so then those people in education who want to get a master's degree, they had to go through my course. If you've ever heard of David Imhotep. David Imhotep, he wrote the book on Blacks in Ancient America. I was on his committee. Asante at Temple University asked me when I joined, David's committee. I was on his research committee. In fact, my research course, I developed it originally. It was an 8-week course. I developed it originally because the fact is that they didn't have a research course for David Imhotep. So I developed this course so that David could learn how to do research methods. And you see the book he wrote. But what I did, in a sense, with this course is that I teach my students how to read and understand articles that are written in history, linguistics, sociology, anthropology, and law. And so that means, in a sense, is that by the time a student leaves my class, he's able to read the ish on the internet, and he knows what it's all about, and he can interpret it. He can see through the lies. He can see through the verbiage, you see. And then at the same time, they learn how to do quantitative or qualitative research. Qualitative research is when you write narratives, but they also learn qualitative research. They learn how to use statistics to really, in a sense, be able to maximize their ability, because see, it's all about data. Today, I know at your job, that's all they talk about is data. So I teach my students how to use the data to make them more aware of who and what they are, you see. But at the same time, they can take this and use it for practical purposes.
For you people that like the sports world, what Dr. Winters is speaking about is that analytical stuff, how Billy Bean turned everything with Moneyball and being able to use the analytics and the data to predict and project whether, like in sports, whether they're going to have a career year, the probability of somebody being successful, and which is remarkable is that when you understand, like Dr. Winters is saying, when you're able to understand the data for those of us that got to go to these people's job, if you could always save the company money, you're a valuable asset when you can save someone else money, as well as if you got your own business, save yourself some money.
Right.
Because that's all it's about is how could I make more money and save more money without putting out. So it's very important, you guys.
See, the problem is that my course isn't necessarily all about business, but it's like what Claude Anderson says is that, see, most of the time we're not taught to be financially. We're not taught to be, financially solvent. We're not taught in the sense to know how to build wages. Now, I don't teach this now, but I mean, we don't know how to get in the stock market. We don't know how to do in a sense, crypto and all that stuff, But young people, they know this stuff and they're making money. See, because in crypto and the stock market, they don't see your face. But if I show my face anywhere else, they can say, "Oh, that Negro, I don't want to listen to him," because see, they've been conditioned to feel they can't learn. But I mean, I taught at Governor State University, and just about all my students at Governor State were white. I think I had about I taught there for 10 and a half years. I think I had about seven black guys and two Latinos. Everybody else was white women and maybe a few and black women. Because women are the main ones that want to go to university now because they see an opportunity. In fact, many feels like education are being taken over by women. But I ain't mad at them. I mean, they, the thing is this, that it's about knowledge. And so, I hope that Q, if you could put in the description information about how to join my class, the payment schedules, things like that. It starts tomorrow on the 7th, but you can still register for the class up until next week because the third week is kind of hard to catch up, you see. But you'll learn all aspects, and I guarantee you, if you follow me, you will know how to write. All you need is a 6th grade education. If you had a sixth grade English class, you'll do well in my class. What are you trying to road? You said you was teaching people for master's degrees. Yes. A lot of them couldn't spell either because when they went to a lot of the young people who went to school in the 80s and 90s. Do you know what? Let me tell you something. I taught at the Chicago Public Schools for 46 years. And do you know my last 7 to 10 years, I couldn't even teach the kids how to do cursive writing? Have you noticed that most young people can't do cursive writing anymore? Yeah. I mean, hell, they may as well put an X. They may as well put an X, like in the old days. But that was purposely done. Then they taught kids the word method where you write the way you talk. You don't write the way you talk. You see, that's standard English. Just like they had a big thing about LeBron James. They said that nobody at the charter schools, because charter schools is how rich people make money, but we won't go there. But they said that nobody at LeBron James school passed the math test. See, that's stupid. You know why they didn't pass the math test? The teachers didn't teach them how to take the damn test. Remember when you wanted to get your certification? You had to get certification to do what you do, right?
That's what you told me. You told me that the other day, and you didn't say it during the show last week, but you explained how most standardized testing students aren't taught to pass the test.
They're not taught to pass the test. I didn't say cheat on the test. I said taught to pass the test. Because see, everybody has to study for a test. When I wanted to be a teacher, I had to take an exam, a qualifying exam. So then when I took the qualifying exam, then in a sense, I studied everything that I had learned over the past 4 years so I could pass the social studies exam because I was teaching social studies. But I see people, many Black people, they go and they take tests and they fail the test because they don't get prepared. A lot of the stuff that's on the test, you may have studied that stuff in your freshman year, your sophomore year. And that was 2 or 3 years ago. And so the only way you can get better is to refresh yourself. You see, but again, as I said, hopefully go to the description of the video and hopefully it'll be information on how you can join my class. I'd like to meet you, family. I'd like you to join. And I'd like to if you want to make a difference, if you got something you want to say and you want to give it to people, then you want to be part of my research team. Yes, I became addicted. I became addicted to writing because I began to see that I was influencing people that I would never meet, probably. You know, I went on Facebook. My son, he told me to go on Facebook. So I went on Facebook. And so then at first I was kind of stingy. And then somebody said, "Oh, you're Dr. Winters. You don't even have any followers." So then I just started taking a lot of followers till I got up to 800. Then I stopped. But the good thing about joining Facebook is that over in India, I'm known as being the third pillar of knowledge about Dravidian studies. Yes, India. I'm the third pillar. You know, there's like the Langam and another one. And see, because I've written so much on Dravidian history, linguistics, in a sense that they see me as one of the 8 scholars, you see. And I didn't know that until when I got on Facebook and all these brothers from India, you know, started contacting me. And then, you know, I deciphered the Meroitic script and a lot of brothers from Sudan started contacting me. I said, damn, you see, power. And that's what you can have too, family. Once you learn how to write, once you learn, in a sense, how to research, once you can put your ideas to paper, you too can have that influence, you see. So again, I hope you can join me. Any questions out there? Come on, family, you got me. You know, you got me. You got me. You got to know, brother, waiting to talk to you about these old stuff. You got to know, brother, trying to make you know about this old stuff. Talk to the brother, ask him some questions. Brother gonna tell you what to do. Come to the brother, ask him some questions, and then you know what to do. Yassas. Just call me Uncle Clyde. Is that wide enough?
We ain't gonna keep anybody. We don't want to force nobody to ask questions that they may not have right now. But I put it in the description. It's actually the pinned comment. Make sure you check out Dr. Winters. You know, one of the things that unfortunately, like I always say, is sometimes we tend to gravitate towards the entertainers and the sports figures for a lot of our direction, instead of realizing that we, with all due respect to Dr. Winters, he's a living legend. And a lot of the things that will be used that we need to be able to navigate through this rat race that we're in called America, and being able to disseminate what's going on and knowing your why, definitely on a worldview, and just getting this information and being able, like I always say, to being able to apply it in your everyday life and not falling for the pitfalls of what's going on. So, Dr. Winters, I appreciate you joining us tonight, as always. And, you know, as they say, stay white, brother. You got any final thoughts?
My final thought is I love you, family. Roro, thank you for that Cash App. Anybody else want to send me a Cash App? Great. and join my Patreon. Be supportive. It takes money to do this research. And remember, we love you.
With that, everybody take care and have a great night.
Bye-bye.